Welcome to Season 7, Episode 8 of COMMCast. I'm your host, Julia Glasser. COMMCast is a production of the Longwood University Communication Studies Department and the COM 434 CommLab class. This show is dedicated to highlighting the Longwood and Farmville communities. Today's episode is about a brand new Honor Society chapter on Longwood's campus, Delta Alpha Phi, a society that recognizes and celebrates the academic achievements of high-performing students with disabilities. Joining us today is the chapter's Advisor and Assistant Director in the Accessibilities Resource Office, Stephanie Mooney, who will talk about why bringing Delta Alpha Phi to campus matters, what opportunities it creates for students, and how this new chapter hopes to bring a more inclusive and supportive academic community. Let's start the show. Joining us on set today, Stephanie Mooney.
Hello, Julia. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So for viewers who may not know about Delta Alpha Phi, what is the organization and what makes it unique compared to other honor societies?
Yeah, so Delta Alpha Phi is an international honor society for students with disabilities. There are over 200 chapters, and as I mentioned, it's international, so across the world. I think that what makes it unique is that it's specifically an honor society for students with disabilities. I think that's what really makes it unique, because to my knowledge, I don't know of any other honor society that recognizes high-achieving students with disabilities.
That's amazing. How did Delta Alpha Phi get a chapter here on Longwood's campus, and what was that process like?
So that's another great question. It was a little bit of a process, as you can imagine.
Right.
A student, his name is Aiden Brown, he's currently the chapter president, approached me and my colleagues over in ARO, or the Accessibility Resources Office, about potentially starting a chapter. And we were like, sure, let's figure this out. So Aiden and I attended a meeting with Susan Sullivan over in student engagement to figure out what Longwood needed to be a recognized organization on Longwood's campus. And then I had reached out to the headquarters of Delta Alpha Phi to figure out what they needed on their end. Initially, we really just needed a constitution for our local chapter, and then we needed at least 10 members. So we put a call to all to campus, and we had over 50 people reach out and say, hey, I'm interested. And then of the 50 people, there were some who didn't qualify just yet, because there's certain qualifications to be in the Honor Society, but we had 29 new members inducted this past fall. So we were officially recognized in the spring semester of last semester, but it was a little late, so we did the induction in the fall semester.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Just a little bit, but it was all worth it.
Right. What misconceptions about students with disabilities do you encounter most often, and how does DAPA actively push back against them?
So I think that the most common misconception that I come across in my work is that disability means inability, or that they can't do it. And like I said, that's a misconception. Students with disabilities can absolutely do anything that anyone else can do. I think another misconception that sometimes I come across is that disability, you have accommodations, so sometimes accommodations might give you an advantage, and that's not the case. It equals the playing field for everyone, so that way everyone has equitable access. How DAPI comes into play is they bring the student perspective. A lot of the outreach and education programs that DAPI does is geared towards students and trying to change that culture, whether it be a program or tabling or even pamphlets that they're handing out to campus. I think it's just they want to bring awareness to the campus, to all of Longwood's population.
That's great. Beyond recognition, how does Delta Alpha Phi empower students to advocate for accessibility and systemic change on campus?
So I think that I kind of answered that in the last question, is that one of the activities that Delta Alpha Phi engages in is education, right? Education about disability, education about access, education about advocacy. So, and they host a variety of things. They're still a new organization, so they're trying to figure out what works best for the campus. But here recently, they've hosted a tabling as part of Accessibility Week this past week to just educate the campus that, ARO, Accessibility Resources Office, exists. There are resources on campus, that not all disabilities are visible, that they're also invisible, and they've done that with tabling events, like I mentioned, with pamphlets, with educational opportunities. Tomorrow, Thursday afternoon from 3:30 to 5, they're actually going to host another educational workshop about accessible social media, and that's not geared towards, you know, people with disabilities, but everyone. That's part of that universal design that they're trying to advocate for.
That's very cool. As the advisor, in what ways does DAP help students advocate for themselves and others?
So as I mentioned, it's a new organization, so I still think that they're trying to figure out what is the best way to, you know, reach out to campus and what campus truly wants from them as an organization. I know that they have in the works some educational opportunities. Like I mentioned, they have the workshop upcoming tomorrow, but I think in the future that they're hoping to host other educational workshops or even like networking opportunities for students to have those conversations of how to become advocates or how to sharpen those advocacy skills.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm very proud of them.
How does the organization help change conversations or perceptions about disabilities on campus? And I feel like you've kind of mentioned it before, but if there's anything else you would like to add to that.
Sure. I think that it's needs to start with a conversation, right? And you know, I can talk to students, but I think that it's different when students are having conversations with students, you know, with peers. And I'm really thankful to have DAPI members who have such an interest in getting the word out there and educating their peers, and also being willing to share their experience as a person with a disability, oftentimes an invisible disability that's not, you know, just present that anyone can see. So I appreciate that DAPI wants to engage in those conversations, and I think that's where it really needs to start.
That's amazing. Who is eligible to join DAPI, and how can interested students get involved?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So per the regulations from the headquarters, like the Alpha chapter, undergraduate and graduates are eligible.
Okay.
Undergraduates have to complete 24 credits and they have to have a 3.1 GPA. Graduates have to have completed 18 credits, and I believe that they also have to have a 3.1 GPA, if I'm not mistaken, on a 4.0 scale. And then you also have to have a documented disability. You don't necessarily have to be registered with the Accessibility Resources Office and receiving academic accommodations, but you do have to show that you do have a documented disability. So how we've navigated that is that you, the prospective student will submit that documentation to our office just to verify it, and then I let the chapter know that, you know, it is a legitimate disability that we have documentation for, and that's essentially it. And then, you know, you're invited to join the Honor Society, and then induction ceremonies happen each fall semester.
Okay. This is our last question. What do you hope the future looks like for Delta Alpha Pi at Longwood?
So I hope the organization continues to grow. Like I mentioned, this is a brand new organization. So, you know, we currently have 29 members. I hope that it continues to grow. We have more people who are interested in becoming members and want to continue that advocacy, and educational work that DAPI is currently doing. I think that it's really important for the members of DAPI to get out onto campus and to educate their peers, because like I mentioned, I think it's different when you're having a conversation peer-to-peer versus, you know, a staff member to a student. So.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with COMMCast Trivia. It's time for everyone's favorite segment, COMMCast Trivia. In today's episode, we will be asking you to identify disability symbols. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What is this disability symbol?
I would assume like a mobility impairment or a physical impairment, or like the universal sign for disability.
Yes.
Okay.
It is wheelchair user.
Okay.
What do you think this disability symbol is?
A service animal, whether that be like an emotional service animal or a service animal.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And what do you think this one is?
For American Sign Language or just sign language in general?
Yes, I did not know that one before.
Okay.
This is new to me. And this symbol?
Hearing impairment.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, correct.
A visual impairment or low vision.
Yes,
Okay.
visual impairment. And that was it.
Oh,
you
awesome.
did great.
Yes.
Thank you to Stephanie Mooney for joining us today. Thanks to everyone with CommLab behind the scenes, and thank you for watching. Join us live next Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. on YouTube for another episode of CommCast. See you then.